welcome to this week's program. We're going to be talking about dairying and also previewing a country fete which has been going for many a year, but in just a moment we'll be talking animal health. Nick, parasites that affect human health and meat quality.
Yeah, so we're mainly talking, there's three main ones really to talk about. A couple everyone will know as soon as I mention the name. Sheep measles, which is the biggie, and then we've got false hydatids, which we don't hear much of these days, thank goodness, and another one that's everyone will recognise but we don't hear hardly anything of these days, which is also a major relief, is hydatids. And all of those parasites are controlled fairly well by intervening with the biology of the parasite. And I guess the importance of this discussion today, or this little chat today, is to keep that practice of feeding dogs appropriately at the forefront. So yeah, very, very important. And obviously when I mention hydatids, everyone immediately will recognise, hopefully, the important human health aspects to that, as opposed to sheep measles, where there's a lot of losses in the meat industry. And unfortunately, we still, when we look at the numbers of affected carcasses and properties month to month, there still is a bit of a problem there, and in some regions of New Zealand it's escalating, in fact. Really?
How do we get rid of hydatids? Because we used to have dog dosing strips and...
Yeah, so hydatids, we are currently classified as free of hydatids, but this is the time that we really need to be very vigilant to maintain that status. It would be tragic if such a horrible, debilitating and life-threatening disease came back. And as you mentioned, and there used to be the old song on the hydatid strip and Dunsandel,
yeah,
that's
exactly.
Right. Well, that was part of the control policy, and that involved ensuring that working dogs were, by law, and actually all dogs by law, were actually dosed or treated with a drug that would kill the tapeworm. The adult part of the parasite cycle was a tapeworm which lives in the dog. It can be killed through drug therapy, but it became recognised fairly early on that by controlling the adult parasite alone, we weren't going to get control of this problem, and we needed to step in the actual life cycle, which involved dogs getting access to affected offal from sheep or other species of farm animal, and ingesting those cysts, and then from the cysts the adult tapeworm would progress and take hold in the gut, and then have fertilised eggs being dispersed onto the pasture, which would then be ingested by one of the farm species, and then the cyst would be passed on that way. And if you're an unlucky human being, you'd get access to either one of these eggs or a cyst itself. By appropriate feeding, and that means either freezing material from these affected animals for up to 10 days prior to feeding, or actually rendering them, in other words heating them to over 90 degrees, that would render these cysts ineffective or non-infective and non-dangerous. And so practicing good feeding practices when we're dealing with the dogs on the farm was integral in eliminating this problem. And this is, I guess, why I'm speaking about this today, because just to bring this to the forefront, perhaps it's less of a problem these days with the onset of farmers perhaps using commercial brands of food more regularly than they used to, but there's still a lot of mutton and offal fed, and I guess so it's really, really important that they're fed in a fit state, that we're going to prevent that.
And pick up your dead sheep.
Absolutely, and it minimise any possibility of scavenging and these sort of things. And you know what? The exact same mechanism is the same mechanism that both false hydatids and sheep measles has passed. And so by practicing those feeding methods, we're going to control all of these three parasites very, very effectively. there is a blood test available too for dogs, and so if on a property you start getting notification from abattoirs or freezing works that you've got carcasses affected with sheep measles, for instance, and you're not 100% sure whether things have been gold standard on your own property, you can test your dogs and make sure they're clean. And of course, visiting dogs, if you're on more extensive properties where people are accessing the countryside, then you really need to, you're within your rights to insist that they come certificated that their dogs have been recently treated before coming onto your property.
C. bovis.
C. bovis, I did put it down as something to talk about briefly. There has been in recent times a case. It's the equivalent of sheep measles, which is seen in cattle. It generally affects muscles around the face, tongue and cheek muscles, and so it can be an economically debilitating issue for the beef industry. And the interesting thing, and we probably don't want to go into too much depth, is that the primary host isn't the dog. The adult tapeworm for C. bovis is a human. And there was some implication that with a lot of dairy workers getting access to the countryside, that maybe these people had come from countries with less intense animal health practices than we have ourselves, and so the implication was that with this, at least with this recent outbreak, that somehow there had been access by grazing cattle to pasture that had somehow been contaminated with infected pasture from human faeces, whether that be from a septic tank overflow or whatever the case. It means that somehow there'd been people infected with the tapeworm that had been in that vicinity. So I guess it just puts it out there that, you know, we need to be careful of hygiene and making sure that if we get such incidents such as an overflow or a sewage issue, that, you know, it is important to restrict grazing animals that are going to get into the human food chain, that we're protecting that and being sensible about things like that.
In a sad way, that's probably common sense, but common sense doesn't always prevail, does it?
That's right. And if there's, you know, Murphy's Law will state if there's any little chance of something happening, it's going to happen. So it's better just to make sure that the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted when it comes to good practice, when it comes to these kind of things.
Where does worming fit into all this?
Regular worming is, I guess, as I mentioned earlier, relatively important. These days we're less intent on ensuring the old 6-weekly high data dosing. That, I guess, definitely would, at that frequency, even though it seems very high, the frequency, it wouldn't have been frequent enough to totally eradicate any of these problems. And so we still advocate just regular treatment, and as I say, if you're going to be going into the countryside, any people in maybe a semi-rural or an urban environment that get access to farmland to do their recreational activities, if your dogs are involved in that, it would be good practice and actually, to be honest, good manners to ensure that your dog's been dosed very recently and you come with a signed certificate from your veterinarian, so that if you're questioned by the landowner, that you can actually show that your dog has recently been dosed and there's no risk to their livestock in regard to any of these problems we've just talked about today.
I mean, briefly, some of these dog parks where people are exercising, you can let them all go and they have a wonderful time. I mean, that's going to be a bit...
Of course, when the access to the parasite is directly from feces, and that doesn't involve these problems we've just talked about. The access for the problem with the dog and these problems is actually access to meat and offal, but there are other parasites, roundworms of dogs and things, that the contamination source is feces of other dogs. And so, yeah, obviously when they're in environments like that, regular dosing is the way to control those parasites.
Nick, thank you very much indeed. Straight after the break, we're going to be talking dairying.
You know that saying, content is king? Well, in today's mixed media world, it's true. You need video, audio, photos and more for social media, for marketing, for communications, sales and for advertising. And you need this at a price that works with your budgets. Well, that's what we do. At Tandem, we partner with you to create the content that you can use to shout to the world or video link to a few. Connect with us and we'll help you connect to the world.
I've been reporting on farming matters on the radio and newspapers and on television for 40 or so years, but communication, like farming, has moved on. So we've come up with On the Land, online and through YouTube on any screen, anytime and anywhere. Just push play and see and hear what's happening today in our rural community. You'll learn and be informed about the latest and best information farming matters. On the Land, bringing farming information into the 21st century. So join us on our website, ontheland.co.nz.
Be Active begins here in the cold, clean, unpolluted southern oceans of New Zealand. Be Active amino acid biostimulant, natural, 100% pure, manufactured from healthy deep sea fish from sustainable New Zealand fisheries. New Zealand's Be Active amino acid biostimulant, the way the world is growing. Working with nature, good for the plant, good for the planet. Now that's growing for good.
We're living on a planet facing almost insurmountable challenges. Challenges we have to face sooner rather than later. The world needs our energy. She needs our ideas, our passion. It's up to us to change things, make a positive change to the planet, to feed the world, to protect the future, to live well, to be the generation that will make a change. Join us.
Back to the program. Well, dairy farmers are through their calving part of their season, but now their challenge is to get all those cows pregnant again. So let's find out exactly what is involved in keeping the right number of cows in calf. Enda, we're into October. How's the season been?
Yeah, season's good, Rob. Obviously we're finished calving since last week, and the weather is really playing its part. As you can see, we got water flowing, and we're heading in the right direction. We're heading to mating, and my favourite time of the year.
Grass is very plentiful?
Grass is plentiful, yes. We recorded about 70 kilos last week per day, and so we're very slowly coming into a surplus. And we wish to come into a surplus. We want to make a bit of silage, and also we want to ensure that our cows are fully fed. So as you can see on the drive down, like, our residuals are quite generous. And the aim is to fully feed the cow to steam her up for mating, and by leaving a bit of residual behind, we're ensuring the cows are well fed, and any surpluses can be cleaned out later on with a mower and made into silage.
The herd's in pretty good order.
The cows are in good order, yes. It's up to us to get them in good order. Like, our target's to calve down or a condition score of 5, and at the moment on a body condition score last week we scored them 4.65. The recommended is about that 4.5, but I feel they're in very good condition. A few different things we're doing there. I suppose we're preferentially feeding in shed, so we're feeding a mixture of palm kernel in the paddock and 3 kilos of barley in shed. So we can set up different preferential feeding groups based on body condition, milk yield, etc. So to arrive now, 2 weeks out from the start of mating, our cows have to be in good condition, and I'm happy that we have achieved that. Yeah.
Now, what tricks have you got up your sleeve, because your conception rate is very good?
Our conception has been quite good over the last 10 years. Our empty rates have been good. Look, a couple of things that we're doing, I suppose, heading into mating. The condition, as we spoke, is right. We're also using a few tools along the way to help us get there. I'm quite a fan of prostaglandin, so PG, and we gave our cows their first shot of PG last week. We'll do a couple of different programs range between our heifers and our mixed age cows. So the heifers are naturally mated, although from my own herd I have used a double PG program in the past. This year with our cows, we'll use a PG program to push forward our weeks 3 into weeks 2 and weeks 2 into week 1. We'll use a couple of different options there. We'll look at off-sync to help us do that also, and we'll look at a cedar program for anything that's calved over 30 days that hasn't had a genuine cycle before the plan started mating, which is the 23rd of October.
Is there any particular PG that you lean towards?
We'll just use the PG from the off-sync program, and that more than satisfies our needs. And like I said, yeah, it works very well for the program we're trying to achieve. And our targets here are 80% 6-week in calf and less than 4% empty at 12 weeks of mating. So to achieve those, yeah, you got to get the condition right. You got to also use the tools that are available to you. Now, I suppose we're lucky that we've got ProTrack in shed, and we use preferential feeding, and we also use ProTrack for entering our pre-mating heats. And we have started doing that a month ago. So we're building up a very accurate criteria of when our cows are on heat. So we're looking for those 21-day returns, anything from 19 to 22. So just looking for regularity of heats before mating starts, and then we'll follow it through. And also from my own point of view, we've got a LIC ProTrack camera. Look, at being honest, I'll probably use that as a backup for the human factor, that I myself will visit these cows a minimum 5 times a day between milkings. And that just, I suppose, I want the data behind me to make the decision, because in the morning when the technician comes, it's either a yes or no. Well, it's got to be only a yes for me that she is on heat. I've yet to know a cow that conceives that is not inseminated at the right time. So yeah, you put the time in, and I will spend the time. I'll be relieved of most of other on-farm duties. Like I said, we got just on 1,100 cows here, so you got to pay the due respect of the time commitment needed to get these cows in calf and to achieve those results.
So you're very hands-on.
Absolutely, yeah. Like, we've got a good team here. We've got a good consistency of staff as well, and that plays a vital importance. And the cows are familiar with the staff that are on farm. And look, we're all looking for the one thing. We're all looking to hit those targets. So when, for example, people are bringing in cows on the motorbike, they've got the yellow notebook in their hand and they're jotting down just those cows that are on the edge of the sexually active group, or just all those little fine detail things. I mean, look at this. There's no big Oscars for the cows that are blatantly on heat. You should be able to draft those, but you just need to be able to spot the ones that are in the fridges, those sags. You need ProTrack really operating to its maximum, so it's making sure it's drafting every cow. If it's not, we would manually draft and use the ProTrack gate as a backup. So therefore we're guaranteeing we're not missing anything, and just making sure they're fully fed, making sure that there's the basics like water in the trough at night. I mean, you can't stress cows at this time of the year, so therefore we want the right type of feed going into them, and we want their protein to be quite high, and we want the protein fat ratio to be at adequate levels over 0.78 for this type of crossbred herd. So there's more than just one facet coming into mating, and we're just trying to tick every box that we can.
And of course, a cow that's either very late, so therefore has a short milking season, or an empty one, becomes exceedingly expensive.
Well, sure, at the moment, like the beef price is quite generous, but it's still minus $1,000 on an in-calf cow heading into next June. So for every cow that's not in calf, to me, it's it's a cost of money, but it's also reduces the selection pressure within the herd. So if you've say for instance you have a perfect herd and 100% are in calf, you can absolutely cull the cows that you want to cull yourself. So we breed a 20% replacement rate. To make good financial sense, your aim should always be to sell some excess heifers. So therefore, to maximise your culling and bring in the right amount of heifers to plus your surpluses and your minuses. But if you have a high empty rate, that defeats the purpose. Your selection criteria is minimised.
What's the best percentage of empties that you've had?
We based a 0.5% empty rate in 2012, so I had 2 empty cows at a 700, and that's that is achievable. Like we've gone ourselves as share milkers from 1,400 cows to 800 for the last 3 years. Now we're back at 1,100, but our results haven't changed. So our poorest empty rate's been 4.2% over the last 9 seasons, and that's achievable every season. It's not just a one-season wonder.
But the average is about 10.
The average would be probably 8 to 10 in this country, and I think it's very high. I think that, being honest, I think you just have to have a passion for that 12 weeks mating. It comes off the back of possibly a difficult calving when people are getting tired and the season might be going downhill. Let's just say downhill, but energy levels might be pushing downhill for the human factor. But no, this is the time where you make most of your money. So this is the time you need to be firing on all cylinders.
And use the tools that are available.
Yeah, the tools, like I said, we're very fond users of PG, and that is a beneficial tool for us. I like a compact calving myself. It's by pushing weeks 3 into 2 and 2 into 1. It has many benefits, not only from a human point of view in calving large numbers in a short period of time, but also the calves are born at the same time of the season, so they reach target weights together. So they're born together, they're weaned together, and they're reared together. And also for your cows, the benefit of a good mating is the compact calving. So for example, we finished calving last Wednesday, but it was only a very few stragglers that held us on for the last sort of 3 weeks. So the cows, the longer the loo day period, the better chance they have of going back and calf. So a compact calving for me is great.
Ken, we're hearing a lot about PGs. Can you explain exactly what PG is and how it all works?
PG effectively stands for prostaglandin. Prostaglandin is a natural hormone that's already in the animal, used in the estrus cycle. So by injecting prostaglandin into the animal, it resets the estrus cycle, which means the animal comes into estrus 24 odd hours after the injection. So farmers are using it a lot to bring cows into estrus earlier than normally would be expected.
So basically you're lining everything up.
All of the animals in the herd are not susceptible to prostaglandin throughout the entire 21-day estrus cycle. So by injecting all of the herd, we're only getting 2/3 of those animals that will respond to prostaglandin. So yes, we're bringing 2/3 of the herd earlier into estrus than what we would normally be expecting.
And it's a synthetic, but it's actually a total copy of what nature provides.
It's a synthetic analogue, yes. So exactly the same hormone as what we have in the animal.
We've got a wee graph here. Can you explain exactly what all that means? Because to me it's straight over the top of the head.
Prostaglandin is the second injection that we're looking at there. So that effectively resets the estrus cycle and bring the animal into estrus, so into heat, and then we have fixed time AI after that.
Because obviously you want all your cows to calve in a very short time.
You do, but you don't want all of your cows to calve in one day. So if you treated all of the whole herd, 100% of the herd, with the entire treatment and synchronise them all on one day, then you have your AI technician with a very sore arm after inseminating the whole herd, and then calving would subsequently occur effectively plus or minus a week of that one day. So farmers don't like that amount of work in one day. So
no,
yeah, it's a good idea, but not perfect.
Not that great an idea.
Yes, plus it would have follow-on demands in terms of grass growth and feed requirements. So it's not quite that easy to do.
No, exactly. So you're fiddling, but you're not taking over. We hear about the conditions of the cows being important.
Condition is fundamental. There's no amount of intravenous or extraneous treatments that we can put into an animal that's going to improve production or fertility if the animals are not in good condition. So fundamental to making any treatment work, we need to have the animals in good condition and preferably on a rising plan of nutrition. So that means the animals are getting more food as they're going through the AI program.
So if you've got, I hesitate to use the word skinny, but you've got lower scored cows, do you not use this, or what happens there?
No, it is preferable to avoid that situation in the first place by feeding appropriately, but yes, there's obviously farmers that get into a situation where they can't avoid low body condition score cows, so yes, it will work in those sort of cows, but it is definitely preferable to have cows in decent body condition so that you're achieving normal, good fertility with those cows. But better body condition score, better response to the extraneous drugs.
Of course, the other thing is you want them to be in good order so that they're going to carry more milk and not get milk fever and all those sorts of things.
Exactly. The better body condition score, the better response to fertilisation, AI, and more milk production you're going to get out of the animals. Absolutely.
Can cost versus return?
fundamentally we get a really excellent return. We've yet to conduct a trial at Parnell where we don't get a positive response to these treatments in terms of getting non-visible estrus cows into estrus and subsequently pregnant. So yes, rate of return is very good. Much better used pre-mating than post or during mating. So trying to identify those non-visibly estrus cows before we start the AI program is the best way to implement this program.
So what's the graph that we're looking at now?
Well, we're seeing here that after fixed tame AI, we're getting an increment in response after we've treated before mating. So we're looking at 63% in calf when we use the program pre-mating and only 53% during mating. So we're getting a 10% increment by using the program before we start our AI program.
So that brings me on to empties. Is this another tool to stop having empties?
Yes. NVO, non-visible estrus cows, are typically what we call empty cows at the end of the day because farmers don't subject those animals to AI, so they're not seeing them in estrus at all. So this program will bring a large proportion of those non-visibly estrus cows into estrus so that we can mate them with AI typically or with natural mating and get them pregnant so that they can lactate for the subsequent year. This removes the negative cost of those empty cows against the bottom line, so those animals will be able to produce milk next year rather than just be culled for being empty.
Yeah, well that's right, because they're not very valuable in New Zealand at the moment, but they're going to be again.
Yes, sure, the beef price is high, but there's no point in spending 2 years raising a heifer to cull it after 1 or 2 years simply because she's empty. And if you can use a less than $100 hormonal invention program, such as we're talking about here, to get her pregnant and get a subsequent lactation out of her, in my opinion, that's a fantastic investment.
The average empties is 8 to 10% in New Zealand, so this is going to be, it's not a no-brainer. I mean, we should be using it. Here's your commercial, Ken.
Absolutely, it is a no-brainer in my opinion, and it is, the rate of return is absolutely fantastic. And if you're going to reduce animal health spend in your veterinary bill, this is not a product that should be reduced from that spend. Fantastic rate of return and very easy to keep your favourite cows and your high genetic merit cows.
How's the take-up on it as far as farmers are concerned? Is it popular?
Lots of guys are using it, particularly in conjunction with progesterone devices such as Cedars, DibV, etc. So yes, it is widely used. There are competitor products available, but our product has been around since day one in terms of the OVSync program is very well known, particularly in New Zealand and Australia.
And you guys are nationwide, I mean you're worldwide I should say.
We are worldwide. We're manufactured in Sydney in an FDA approved facility and that won't be changing. We've recently moved into the US market whereby we're supplying reproduction hormones to the US market and moving across the globe as we expand. So yes, a global approach.
Good on you. Well, tell us about this graph and your global approach to that.
This graph is showing us that we can get a response to, in terms of milk production. So we're not getting a response in milk production this year, but it is in terms of next lactation where we're getting more cows in calf using the OVSync program. So these cows will produce milk next year, increasing our days of milk for those cows.
So your future proofing, that's the word I was looking for, future proofing.
Yes, we're trying to future proof next lactation. Our program won't affect this lactation. We'll increase the number of cows getting in calf for the next lactation and getting those cows in calf earlier. So effectively we're increasing the number of cows that are being potentially available to be milked and also the number of days in milk those cows will be producing milk. So total production is increased for next year.
You need to use it every year, obviously.
Preferably every year, yes. It would be great if the cows were getting in calf all by themselves, but because we're putting on so much production pressure on these animals, they have reproductive issues in terms of they can't always get in calf first time. So this product can be used to get them into estrus and then fixed time AI. Further, we can apply this product to heifers.
Oh, thank you. I was just going to ask you about young animals.
Exactly. This wasn't prepared, but yes, we can do rising 2-year-old heifers. So by getting those heifers in calf to AI, the genetic merit rate of gain that we can get out of our high genetic merit heifers is increased rather than putting those heifers to a Jersey bull or a Hereford bull, which is nice and easy. Yes, we can use this product in heifers very successfully, and it's an excellent way to keep your rate of genetic gain high.
Ken, thank you very much indeed. We've got more for you on The Land straight after the break.
You know that saying, content is king? Well, in today's mixed media world, it's true. You need video, audio, photos and more for social media, for marketing, for communications, sales and for advertising. And you need this at a price that works with your budgets. Well, that's what we do. At Tandem, we partner with you to create the content that you can use to shout to the world or video link to a few. Connect with us and we'll help you connect to the world.
I've been reporting on farming matters on the radio and newspapers and on television for 40 or so years, but communication, like farming, has moved on. So we've come up with On the Land, online and through YouTube on any screen, anytime and anywhere. Just push play and see and hear what's happening today in our rural community. You'll learn and be informed about the latest and best information farming matters. On the Land, bringing farming information into the 21st century. So join us on our website, ontheland.co.nz.
Be Active begins here in the cold, clean, unpolluted southern oceans of New Zealand. Be Active amino acid biostimulant, natural, 100% pure, manufactured from healthy deep sea fish from sustainable New Zealand fisheries. New Zealand's Be Active amino acid biostimulant, the way the world is growing. Working with nature, good for the plant, good for the planet. Now that's growing for good.
We're living on a planet facing almost insurmountable challenges. Challenges we have to face sooner rather than later. The world needs our energy. She needs our ideas, our passion. It's up to us to change things, make a positive change to the planet, to feed the world, to protect the future, to live well, to be the generation that will make a change. Join us.
Welcome back to the program. Well, Christmas is looming, and it's looming very large. We're nearly at the show week, but before that, there's a little bit of Christmas that everybody really should know about. We find out exactly what it's all about in a moment. Raise, the Culverden Fete is looming again, and it's got a long history.
Yes, no, this is the 24th year, so it's been going a long time now. So it's way back then. It's had with the four mother-in-laws and mothers, and now the new generation is coming through.
It's interesting that it was started really because times were really, really tough, and the four wives decided they needed to get some extra income for the farms.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's great because we can all do it based around our families. I've got a young daughter who I can fit this in around, and we're coming down to a similar time. The dairy price is low, we just need to really think of ways to for us wives who can't work in jobs in Christchurch to be able to supplement our income.
So 24 years of people coming out, but it's during the week?
Yeah, it's on a Thursday. A lot of people ask us why we have it on the Thursday, but we think it's we need to everyone to treat themselves, get the kids off at school or at childcare, and really come out and spoil yourself. Have a day out in the countryside, and without the handbags and without the children that are dragging you behind.
The theme hasn't changed in the last 24 years?
No, it's all about sort of fun and vibrant, and we like to have different activities and different things that interest you, and it's really just about keeping things sort of like that. So.
I guess the garden is a huge attraction on its own.
Oh, well, the gardens, it keeps it there, but it's not the main focus, but everyone has a bit of a wander around the garden, and it's really the park light sort of settings, the trees and the fate paddock that create the most interest.
It's a big garden that you've inherited. Who does all the work?
Oh, well, I've got my mother-in-law who's sort of mentors me and tells me what to do, and I go around with a notebook and she says do this, do that, and between myself, my husband, we get woofers in, and we get a bit of help from a gardener. So it's I'm slowly learning. I don't know the names of many plants, so.
You don't necessarily need to, because it's all in Latin anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's this and it looks like that. So we just roll with that, and I slowly, as you remember what things to do each year. So I'm getting
going
there.
Back to the fete. There's a fair bit of entertainment involved.
Yeah, no, we've got singers, and so as people come into the fete, there's a band, a local Caliencer who's playing at the entrance, and then in the food and wine era, the Starlets from Christchurch will be playing all throughout the day. And then if people buy a prepaid lunch ticket, they come up and Kelly will entertain them up on the front lawn. So wherever you are in the Fate paddock, there's music to listen to. And we've also got Chelsea Winter, who's a demonstration. She'll be giving a couple of free demonstrations throughout the day, and so people can take time out from shopping to go listen to her, or else you can just sit on the hay bales, drink a glass of Pimm's and just sort of watch the day go past.
So the cooking demonstration, she was Master Chef.
Yes, no, she won Master Chef a few years ago, so she's got some Christmas goods that she's going to be cooking for everyone, and yeah, so everyone can take those home and cook them for their Christmas dinner.
How do you work out which stall holders you're going to have?
Yeah, no, stall holders are the most important part of our day. So we seek applications all throughout the year. They can sign up and then they register, and then we have a huge sort of several days going through all the stall holders to get the perfect mix. You know, we want a bit of this and a bit of that and something new, something old. So it's really important to spend the time doing that. And then once we've got them, it's a puzzle trying to fit them into the paddock. A big puzzle.
And if you're from Christchurch, this is all new. You can't necessarily walk into a retail shop.
Yeah, no, we want to make it a different experience for everyone. So it's about building and getting those people who have got different talents and creating that don't necessarily find in a retail store. So
now you mentioned mothers-in-law. Are you all sort of you're still basically all related?
Yeah, no, there's a lot of mothers-in-law, and it's great to work so closely with them all. But yeah, no, it's it's a really good family business. There's four of us. There's myself and my mother-in-law, and then her daughter, so my sister-in-law, and another friend of ours. So yeah, no, it's really lots of meetings and lots of fun. So yeah, no, it's a great.
I guess if it's not fun, you don't do it.
Oh no, of course not. Yeah, it's stressful. October's a stressful month, but yeah, no, it's all worth it in the end. So.
Remind me of the date.
The date's a Thursday, the 29th of October, and 10 o'clock we start and finish at 4.
And parking. This is your opportunity for a commercial. There's plenty of parking.
Yeah, we clear the cows from the paddock, and the heavy roller goes in to get rid of all the paddock mess, and there's plenty of parking, and there's no issue with that. So which will be great when we've got a new art hanger area. So we've got we've emptied the junk from the building, and we're making that into a space that's got some artwork and some sculptures, so people can look at that through the day, make a purchase, and take it home with them at the end of the day. Something new for them every time.
Lisa, Telford, it's more than just a educational unit in Balclutha.
Yes, that's right. Telford's situated in Balclutha. It's a division of Lincoln University, and you can do either full-time programs on campus there at Balclutha and or off-site via the correspondence programs. We offer a range of Coro courses, at this point in total about 30, and they range from level 1s up to level 5. So you can do them at your leisure, anytime. They're one year part-time study, so you can roll on a monthly basis. So you could start, say, 1st of October, which would take you through to the following year for a part-time study. For those that are already working or want to do a bit of study, just, as well.
Really just to better themselves.
Absolutely, yeah.
You said you've got about 30 different correspondence courses. What are some of them?
Right, we've got agriculture, and then we've got specialised areas such as dairy, deer, sheep, working dogs. We've also got agribusiness level 5 and 6. We do equine, we do apiculture, which is the bees as well. And so we have topics, but within those areas, for example, equine, we've got about 4 of those, and as just mentioned with the agriculture, we've got a varied amount, such as the dairy and the sheep, the working dogs, etc. So there's quite a range there to choose from, and they're all there on our website, the Telford website there.
It's interesting that you don't have to wait until the start of a year. You can come in at any stage.
Absolutely, yeah, so it's very convenient for the individual. As mentioned, they could start 1st of October, and then they've got that 1 year to do it. It's a part-time study, so they can do it at their choice, really, whether they want to do November start or January start, etc. Yeah, works well.
And Lisa, what do you get at the end of it? There must be some form of qualification or certificate.
Yes, indeed. It's a Telford certificate in whatever it is that you've chosen. So if it, for example, it could be Telford certificate in agriculture knowledge, or it could be a Telford certificate in equine knowledge. So the knowledge components at the end, which indicates that it's a theory-based program. There's no practical components involved. With the exception of one of the equine programs, there's a bit of a practical base there, but we sort that out with that individual around the country.
So you don't actually have to present yourself to Telford and Balclutha?
No, that's right. It's all via distance and it works really well.
So somebody who is working within an industry and they just want to better themselves.
Yes, absolutely. So whether it's, some people might have their own small holding, for example, and they want to learn a little bit about animals or agriculture, or there might already be somebody in the agricultural sector or dairy sector, so they just want to better themselves, so they could do our level 2 or a level 4 dairy certificate, or they could do our general agricultural, one of those three, which is we've got a level 2, 3 and a 4. So yeah, there's a range there for them to choose from.
Of course, the dairy industry, it is an industry where you come in at the bottom and you work your way up. So any qualifications are going to help you with that.
Indeed. So this is the theory side, and then if they're wanting to do some practical aspects elsewhere, then there's other opportunities potentially. As I indicated, we do offer it on-campus programs as well. So they are theory and practical, and there are more commitments required there because it's a 1-year full-time program. So all of our programs bar the apiculture, we deliver the apiculture program in Kaitaia, and that's one of our satellite bases up there, and that's a full-time program again, for the year.
And Telford, if you're doing the main course at Telford, can you live on the campus?
Yes, you can, absolutely. We've got accommodation there for those that wish to stay on the campus, or there's the local town, Balclutha, or surrounding area if they're wanting to do any just live locally. That's what they choose. They can rent.
And obviously your website's got a fair bit of information about all 30 correspondence courses.
Absolutely, it does, yes. That's telford.ac.nz, so do visit our website and more information there. And if you're wanting more, they can just contact Telford directly.
It must be important that you're tied in with Lincoln University.
Absolutely, yes. The staircasing's phenomenal now in terms of their level 1 or level 2 up through to degree or up to master's PhD. I mean, obviously these would be the starting platform if you're wanting just to start on that platform. I mean, they are recognised because it's all within the division, so those qualifications may well take you into other areas if you choose to.
Just thinking about the correspondence courses, it must be great that you can be out there earning a living as well as educating yourself.
No, yes, that's right. So it's lots of pluses all the way, yeah. Very good.
Numbers?
Yes, we do have particular programs that are more popular than others. So our apiculture program is very, very popular, and those pretty much enrol with us are people in the industry already. And agriculture, dairy specifically as well, is very popular with us, and also the equine collectively is very popular. So yeah.
But there's still room for more.
Yes, absolutely. Busy times. It's all good.
Great to see that the future farmers in New Zealand and probably the rest of the world being catered for by Telford. After the break, we're talking about stress and how to handle it.
You know that saying, content is king? Well, in today's mixed media world, it's true. You need video, audio, photos and more for social media, for marketing, for communications, sales and for advertising. And you need this at a price that works with your budgets. Well, that's what we do. At Tandem, we partner with you to create the content that you can use to shout to the world or video link to a few. Connect with us and we'll help you connect to the world.
I've been reporting on farming matters on the radio and newspapers and on television for 40 or so years, but communication, like farming, has moved on. So we've come up with On the Land, online and through YouTube on any screen, anytime and anywhere. Just push play and see and hear what's happening today in our rural community. You'll learn and be informed about the latest and best information farming matters. On the Land, bringing farming information into the 21st century. So join us on our website, ontheland.co.nz.
Be Active begins here in the cold, clean, unpolluted southern oceans of New Zealand. Be Active amino acid biostimulant, natural, 100% pure, manufactured from healthy deep-sea fish from sustainable New Zealand fisheries. New Zealand's Be Active amino acid biostimulant, the way the world is growing. Working with nature, good for the plant, good for the planet. Now that's growing for good.
We're living on a planet facing almost insurmountable challenges. Challenges we have to face sooner rather than later. The world needs our energy. She needs our ideas, our passion. It's up to us to change things. Make a positive change to the planet, to feed the world, to protect the future, to live well, to be the generation that will make a change. Join us.
John, you and I have often talked about stress and individuals, but let's talk family.
Robert, I think that's really, because when we've talked about those things, we've sort of quite necessarily approached what you might describe as the negative aspect of it. But family's the buffer. Family is what, it can create stress, but a good family situation can most certainly create stress.
You've got a toddler. So.
Yeah, but hey, he creates purpose. You know, and I you know, here I was at 54, finally decided to pee in the gene pool, a little bit late. First child too, first marriage, so you know, it's not like we're a second time rounder. And it's the best thing I've ever done. It's the best, you know, he comes down at night now, stands out in the hall and you think, we look at each other and we go, oh yeah, what's he going to come up this time? And he goes, jumps through the door and goes, hiya! And you know, all of that you just sit there and go, yeah, this is what it's about. And I think that when you're looking at stress, right, the most stressful situation for any of us is, in fact, I think, isolation. You know, isolate, and whether you're isolated in the family, so you can actually be in a group and still be isolated, right? Or whether you're isolated by actually being physically and emotionally disconnected from others, right? Because if you think about it, the ultimate sanction for our ancient ancestors would have been to be kicked out of the tribe. Well, short of being killed outright. You know.
Yeah, well,
that's got a bit more finality to it. But in fact, in reality, the other one is simply the same thing, but by a slower process. Because once you're out by yourself in that situation, you were dog tucker, quite literally.
Well, if you look at a lion who's the top man,
yeah,
and then the youngster takes over, and he goes out and he dies.
Yeah. He's got maybe a short bit of time getting some easy tucker, and then yeah, he's not going to survive. And so I think it's family is where our support comes from, where our strength comes from, and so then we analyse. So how do we make family work for us, and how do we work for the family? And I think the key element is to think, what am I putting in? Right? You always get out more than you put in. So what am I putting in? And when you're farming, you know, you can easily get caught up with, I've got to fix that fence. I've got to do. I've got to look after that water trough, I've got to do these things. Now, some of those things are critical, right? Other things could wait. So I think it's really important to also say to yourself, whether you're a man or woman on the farm, on the land, what have I done to maintain my greatest and most useful support structure, my family? And that's the thought you should be putting through your mind really regularly, because purpose comes from, you know, farming is fundamentally an intergenerational thing. I think that's what really makes, you know, a farmer builds a farm and they build it up and they build it into something, and it's not so they can sell it. Well, you know, they might be part of it.
That's one of the aims, is the capital gain at the end.
Well, that's one of the aims, but I think for many farmers it's about, so I can see what I've built, continue on and become even better again. And so that's where that connectedness comes through, you know. That's why I'm a bit anti-TP.
Well, there wouldn't be a farmer in the country that doesn't want to leave his farm or her farm better than they took it on.
Absolutely. But then I think that they're going, and I want it to continue. So that connectedness, right, is also very deep into what farming's about, I think.
So what you're suggesting, as I read it, is that the family should be your little tribe.
Absolutely. You know, you're looking at your family, your tribe, your society. You know.
So the Maoris, for example, have got whānau and they've got iwi.
Yeah, and a hapu in the middle. Whānau, hapu, iwi, right? And I think that when I was just coming here on the radio, I was listening to on the national radio about the protest movements over land sales in the 1970s. 75 was the big march, and they were talking about urban Maori being disconnected from the land, but that's also disconnected from the hapu and the iwi, right? And you see, and that created its own social problems. And I think farmers can be a bit too individualistic, and if they get individualistic to the point of being the only individual on the farm, then they become isolated and they run the risk of dipping into that deep depressive mould.
John, there's I guess the fish hook in that is that the children have grown up and gone, or they're in boarding school, and it's really just you and the partner person.
Yeah, well, then look after that relationship, right? And also when they do come back, involve them. And also, if we're talking about again whānau hapu iwi, right? Then you can look at your wider community too. And so, family doesn't necessarily mean the biological family. It means the connections, right? So the connections can be community connections. Be involved in something, whether it's the fire brigade, whether it's your local church group, right? Whether it's a sports club. But if you just get so focused on just the day-to-day drudgery of the farm, it starts to lose its sparkle, right? Your efficiency drops, and your emotional disconnectedness increases, and that increases your risk of falling into depression.
We keep saying, don't we, that you're not going to ask for help and you're not going to tell anyone about it.
Which means that part of your role then, remember I said when you give, you get back, part of your role is to look at your neighbours, look at your friendship network in your local community and think, who's under it right now, who's under pressure, who needs to have a chat to somebody, and step in there and be brave.
There's a big difference between seeing your neighbour and saying, how are you, or how are you?
Yeah, yeah. Or even, we haven't seen you around a bit and we're just a bit worried about you. Is everything all right? Or what can I do to help? You know?
But I come back to it, and I know this is the stumbling block, is they're not going to really tell you and they're going to hide it.
Then you might have to say, you're not really telling me, I think you're hiding it. And say, look, we've known each other for this long.
Fair comment.
You know, we've known each other this long. If you're not going to talk to me, who the hell are you going to talk to? And you say, and you don't have to answer that now, but understand that gate's open anytime you want to walk through it. You come talk to me if you need to.
The interesting thing that I found, and you know that I've been there and in the dark spot and come back out again, is when I started talking about it, a hell of a lot of other people have said, Rob, I've been there.
Yeah. Look, this is not an unusual problem. This is a modern epidemic, you know, and because it doesn't have like a big festering sore attached to it, or you know,
it's not visible.
Yeah, no good obvious symptom, you know, and also because of our culture, you know, our rugby hard tough man culture, we are meant to not show these things. I think the next generation are better. I think my father's generation, you know, that came out of the war was the worst. You know.
Yeah, well, because they had a lot to hide and hold down,
and they never let it up, and so they sort of passed it on to their sons, who pass it on to their sons. Well, not my little fellow, he's quite good. He goes, oh, I'm really upset about this broken tractor. Well, just a little thing here. Anyone who's going to invent a toy that articulates, right, make it so that you can clip it together so it doesn't fall apart.
Thank you.
Parents will love you for it.
Yeah, exactly. Take-home message is
spend some time and effort working on your family. It's not an effort anyway, it's a pleasure, right? Ask your family how it's going for them, and feel free to share with them how it's going for you, and think of your neighbours and think of your community. It'll come back to you.
And know that if you do talk about it, you'll find that there's a lot of sympathy, because everyone that you think's okay.
Yeah, you'd be surprised how much is under the surface when you scratch it.
Yeah, exactly. Chiropractors, medical people.
Well, if my profession, I go and do a lot of other stuff, but in my profession, the chiropractic profession, musculoskeletal pain is a corollary of stress, so you end up with the tight shoulders, the low back, the jaw, all that stuff, right? medical practitioners can change the biochemistry a bit. Counsellors, great people to talk to help get your head round it, right? But you know, in the old days, do you ever see Crocodile Dundee? There was that fantastic thing in there when she's trying to explain to him about counsellors in New York, and he goes, "Oh, we just tell what's his name at the bar, and he tells everybody, and whoever's causing the problem gets sorted."
John, on that note, thank you very much indeed. Now, John's interview and all the others that you've seen on the program are available on our website, which is ontheland.co.nz. I'm Rob Cope-Williams. You've either been watching or you've just missed the program, but I will be back at the same time next week. Until then, bye now.